Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello viewers, it's your host Bhaler Nomugeri, student of Business Administration Bay 2K20 from Sindh University campus Larkano. And this video is recorded for the basis of final term and critical situation of COVID-19, and this lecture is supervised by Sir Ayaz Ali Metlo. I am going on now. Demand. I am tell you demand. Demand in economics means in desire to possess and a good supported by willingness and ability for it. If you demand something, then you want. Can you afford it and have a made a defined plan to buy it? Wants are the unlimited desires or wishes that a people have for a good and services. How many times have you thought that you have would like something if you only could afford it, if it were not so expensive? Demand reflected decision about which want satisfy. Demand schedule. In economics, a demand schedule is a table that shows the quantity demand of good or serve at different price level. A demand schedule can be a graphed a continued demand curve on a chart where the y-axis represent price and the x-axis represent quantity. Today, now I am tell you law of demand. The law of demand is one of the most fundamental concept in economics. It works the law of supply to explain how market and economics allocated resources and determine the prices of good served and observed in everyday transactions. The law of demand state and the quantity purchase varies invariously with price. In other words, the higher the price and the lower are the quantity demands where value ends. Now demand curve. The demand curve is a line that shows how many units of the good service will be purchased it at different prices. Demand curves are used to determine the relationship between price and quantity and follow the law of demand, which states the quantity demanded will decreases, the price increases. Now individual demand. The individual demand is the demand of one individual firm and the present quantity of the good that consumer would buy at a specific price point, a specific point in time. While the term is the somewhat value, individual demand can be represented by the point of view of one person, a single family, or a single household. Now we go in market demand. Market demand provides the total quantity demand by all consumers. There are two basic types of market demand: primary and selective. Primary demand is the total demand for all of the brands they are present a given product or service, such as all phones, all high and the watches. Selective demand. Selective demand is the demand of the particular brand or the product service, such as iPhone or Michael watch. Now we supply. Supply is an in economical terms that refers to the amount of the given product or a service that suppliers are willing to offer to a consumer at a given price level at a given period. Now we're going on shift on demand curve. A shift demand curve is a when determine of the demand other than private changes. The second point is the position of the demand curve will be a shift to the left or right following a changes in an underlying determine of the demand other than prices. The second point of shift and demand curve: any change that rises quantity and buyers which is the purchase at given a price shift the demand curve to the right. And fourth point of shift in demand curve: any change that lowers the quantity that buyers which is a purchase that a given price shift the demand curve to the left. Now we're going on. I will tell you economics main of supply. When the price of product is low, the supply is low. When the price of product is high, then supply is high. This makes sense because the companies are seeking profits in the marketplace. They are more likely to produce products with the higher price and likelihood of the producing profits than not. Now we go on the supply schedule and the supply curve. A supply is table that shows the quantity supply at different prices in the market. A supply curve shows the relationship between quantity and supply and price on a graph. That's you know going on law of supply. The law of supply is fundamental principle of economics theory which states that keeping other factors constant and increase in price result in increases in quantity supplied. Second point of law of supply. In other words, there is a direct relationship between price and quantity. Relationship between price and quantity responds in the same direction as the price is change. Now we're going difference between individual supply and market supply. Individual supply I will going on tell you. Individual supply denotes the supply of an individual producer commodity which are he or she offers for sale in the marketplace for a definite time periods for a different prices. Individual supply defines the readiness of the individual firm to offer a particular quantity of a commodity or a service to the marketplace over a given time periods. It is the depend on the several different factors such as the product price, productions cost, policies and regulations of the government and so on. Markets I am going on tell you market supply. Market supply is the supply of different sellers commodity which they offers for sale for a definite time period for a varied prices. Market supply defines the quantity of a particular commodity or a service which all sellers in markets collectively are ready to sell. It donates the quantity of the individual supplies for a specific commodity or service. Now I'm going on shift and supply. The position of the supply curve will change following change in one of the more of the underlying determinant of the supply. For example, a change in cost such as a change in labor or raw material costs will shift in position of the supply curve. We going on market equilibrium. Equilibrium is a situation where the products or services demand in the market are equal to the products or services that are supplied in the market. Economics the equilibrium to the explain market behavior. Markets can be in equilibrium or disequilibrium. Now I am going on tell you microeconomics. It is the study of particular markets and the segments of the economy. It's took the issues such as consumer behavior, individual labor markets and theory of frames. Microeconomics involves supply and demand in individual markets, in individual consumer behaviors, e.g. consumers choice theory. Individual labor markets, e.g., demand for labor wage determination, externalities arising from the productions and contributions, e.g., determinalities. Macroeconomics. Today I tell you what is the macroeconomics, and it is the study of the whole economic. It is looks at aggregated variables such as aggregated demand, nation output, and inflections. Macroeconomics involves monetary, fiscal policy, e.g., what effect does interest rates have on the whole economy, reasons for inflections and unemployment, economics growth, international trade and globalizations, reasons for differences in living standards, and economics growth between countries, government borrowing. So I am going on micro was a macro. It should be clear by now that economics covers a lot of grounds. That grounds can be divided into two parts. Microeconomics focus on the action of the individual agents within the economy, like households, works, and business. Microeconomics looks at economy as a whole. It focuses on the broad issues such as growth, unemployment, inflections, and trade balance. Microeconomics and macroeconomics are not separated subjects but are rather complementary perspectives on the overall subject of the economics. There is two chart. Here is a chart which tell us about between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics points, I tell you, individual markets effect on a price of a good, individual labor markets, individual consumer behavior, and supply of good. Macroeconomics points, I tell you, who economics is GDP, inflation, journal price level, employments, unemployments, aggregated demand AD, and productive capital of the economy. Thanks of watching, and please share and comment like.